So, Peter, the House voted on two controversial resolutions yesterday. Can you tell us what they were about and were they successful?
Yeah, Mike, well, one was about censuring a congresswoman, progressive congresswoman from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican firebrand from Georgia, basically accused Tlaib of anti-Semitic speech when she participated in a pro-Palestinian protest that took place actually on the Capitol grounds inside a House office building. Greene went so far as to say that Tlaib basically participated in an insurrection. Now, Mike, I was inside that House office building that day. It was a protest. It was nonviolent. There was no federal work that was prevented from being done. And I think a lot of Greene's colleagues saw it that way. So this censure motion failed, effectively saying this was free speech by Tlaib. This sets a bad precedent if we go with this. There was another one to actually expel George Santos. We've talked a lot about him, the embattled congressman from New York, basically accused of being a fraud, and there's a 23-count indictment laying out his fraudulent activity as a candidate for the U.S. House. There's also an investigation going on inside the House and the Ethics Committee that appears to be wrapping up at some point soon. They put in a lot of work. So this expulsion resolution also failed. A lot of people saying, let's let this committee do its work, and then we can maybe move on something at that point.
So, Peter, there was controversy in the Senate last night as Senator Tommy Tuberville's block on military confirmations is dragging on. Why is he blocking those nominations? And what are Republican senators saying about this? Dan Sullivan from Alaska was center stage in this debate last night.
He was. And first of all, Tuberville's blocking these because of a Pentagon policy instituted after the fall of Roe v. Wade that effectively says if you are a service member who needs reproductive health care or services and you now live in a state where that is banned, we will pay for your travel to get somewhere so you can get what you need by way of health care. Tommy Tuberville sees that as political and says it has no place in the military. Some folks may agree, but the way he's going about it is blocking the ability to expeditiously confirm a lot of these nominees, basically in a big group, say, all right, you're all now confirmed. Tommy Tuberville is mandating, as is his right per the rules in the Senate, that if you want to confirm any of these people, it has to happen on an individual basis. Well, Mike, that takes up a ton of time. It takes up a lot of floor time. It would take months, apparently, because of how many hundreds of nominations we're talking about. Well, tempers began to flare, and as you said, Senator Dan Sullivan, right at the epicenter of this, he even went out so far as to say that Tommy Tuberville is putting us in a national security suicide mission based on what's going on around the world and the high-level vacancies that we're dealing with. Again, some people might say, yes, this abortion policy should not be involved in Pentagon procedure, but trying to block all of our nominees is no way to go about this. So we'll see if anything changes as far as Tuberville, but he's been dug in for 9 months.
All right, finally, Peter, as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza grows, there have been some successful evacuations from that area, including some Americans. What is the White House saying about this?
Well, the president today confirmed that 74 Americans just today were evacuated through that Rafah border crossing that connects Gaza into Egypt. But that takes the total up to 79 Americans, U.S. citizens that have been evacuated. But there are 400, they say, who have been approved for evacuation. That means a lot of these folks still have to get out. And that's why you're starting to hear the White House call for these humanitarian ceasefires. Let's do a pause so we can try to get people like these U.S. citizens out of there and their families. Could be thousands of people. And also we can get aid into Gaza. Maybe during this pause we can even free some hostages. But Mike, that's the difficulty with ongoing warfare, bombardment, ground incursion now, is that without these pauses, it can be difficult to negotiate and to safely evacuate some of these people.
Peter Zampa at our Washington, D.C. News Bureau, thanks so much for your insight on all this.